Governments are not evil. Good morning. Have I got your attention? Excellent. If you listen to a lot of our conversations, we're actually looking at governments almost as our enemies, as our adversaries, as the guys we have to fight against, the guys we have to overcome, the guys we have to win against. But is this really the most productive mindset? Or do we actually need to think about how can, how can we make governments become our partners? How can we ensure governments are starting to opt in to our ideas? We have just heard Titus. Everyone who is in this room is probably absolutely convinced of this idea of freedom to choice, freedom of the individual, freedom of making decisions. But when we go out there and try to interact with governments, try to find joint solutions, it's not good enough to tell them what do we want, how do we benefit. It's very important to convey a positive message of how will that actually help them achieve good for the country, good for the people, based on the assumption, as I started with, governments are not all evil. And we can have that discussion over a couple of beers tonight, if you want. That's definitely a very long one. So, I'm doing something very, very dangerous and demanding here, especially early morning on a Saturday. Let's, for a moment, take the perspective of government. Yes, ladies and gentlemen? Take the perspective of governments. You are government officials for the next 10 to 15 minutes. So, what is the key hypothesis? Governments actually have a lot to gain from the private city models. Call it international cities by Tipolis, call it whatever you want to do it. But they often fear the unknown, the associated risks. Governments have a lot to gain, but they fear the unknown. So how can we then address that? By strengthening the perception of potential gains. Governments, we have an obligation, we need to help them understand there is a lot in there for them to gain. It's about increasing knowledge, perceived familiarity. Believe me, and we all know that there are a lot of rumors out there what we are thinking. And then when you have actual discussions with government officials, very often they say, well, actually, you're quite reasonable people. You're not those crazy, whatever, animals. And third, address and really reduce fear and concerns. So what I would like to do over the next couple of minutes is just share a few elements, a few insights from discussions I've had with governments pretty much around the world. The first thing is really how to strengthen the perception of gains. And the strongest and most usually made argument is an economic argument. Cities that we are building in countries are creating economic development. There's direct effects, so that's the investments into infrastructure, construction and so on. There's indirect effects, and yes, there's even induced effects, so effects that we achieve by creating more and more economic activity. And that's important. Governments understand that, and they find it hard to argue against it. That creates a positive base. But this is not enough. I think we're not doing the whole cause justice if we focus just on the economic argument. It is not just about economics. It is about social development. And Titus has just made those arguments. And it's important that we convey them. Also, it is about reputation effects. I'm living in Dubai. Now, 10, 15, 20 years ago, Dubai was okay. Yeah, it was somewhere there in the Gulf. It was not really on the global map. By a very ambitious development program, by doing things differently, they have put themselves on the map. Well, we are offering governments to do things differently, to take the risk, to not miss this next train of the next big thing. So that can have a really big reputational effect. And believe me, however provincial politicians are, they love being seen as visionaries. And the third element, soft power. By getting those new developments in, you're getting brain, you're getting activity, and you're strengthening your global standing. So yes, as a government, and don't forget, for the next now 7.5 minutes, you're all government officials. You need to be thinking, hey, wow, they're not dangerous. They're actually my best friends. They are bringing me a lot of things. However, you might still think, sounds all good. But what are they really talking about it? And how dangerous is this thing? And one approach I've seen work extremely well in that context is actually to tell governments, to tell politicians, yes, it is ambitious. Yes, it is visionary. But at the end of the day, it is not all new. It's not revolution. It's evolution. Look at the development of special economic zones. You had logistics zone, export zones. You then had manufacturing zones. You transited into financial services. The question is, what's next? What's the logic next trend? The logic next step? Well, that's integrated cities. That's where lifestyle and work style merge into one place, playing by attractive rules. And suddenly you get this reaction saying, yeah, maybe we have seen elements. You say, yes, you have. And I get a lot of questions coming, living in Dubai by governments saying, okay, we wish we had jumped on the train of financial centers back in 2005, 2010. Can we do it now? And the answer is no. You're late. It would just be yet another financial center. Fine, great. But don't miss the next big thing, and that's autonomous cities. Now, we also need to be careful on this. Of course, we all believe, and rightly so, this is not just another special economic zone, and that's fine. But think about your audience. If using the special economic zone comparison makes it more understandable, more culpable, well, use it. Use it to your advantage. And that really links into the third element. It's about addressing and reducing fears and concerns. Don't forget, you do have us coming there and telling them you have to do things fundamentally different. You have to let some strange foreigners, parentheses colonialists, take over part of your country. And we have heard many of those concerns, reactions. When you go there and say, oh, we need those special regimes. Oh, yeah, that's so painful. It's so complicated. This will be seen as selling out our country. You know, I'll be giving up sovereignty. Oh, gosh. The press will be hostile to this. Well, yeah, probably. How do we know who to trust when trying something new? And those are fair concerns. Let's take them seriously. Let's not just ridicule them. Let's ask ourselves, why do governments voice those concerns? What is behind them? And then argue both rationally and emotionally. We need to address both. The rational argument is not enough. Argue both rationally and emotionally why actually this is not us trying to win at their expense. It is about winning together. And thereby, it is not good enough to just gain acceptance. We need to create the desire of governments to partner with us and let us explore those new models. And there are a couple of strategies. None of them are really rocket science, but we need to incorporate them. Local champions. Believe me, it is extremely hard just coming into an environment and believing you know it all better and convincing people to buy into what you're saying. You need a strong local champion. You need this partnership with the local community. You need to bring them on board. It is not good enough to be those neo-colonialists coming in with the rational arguments. Oh, it's all going to be great, and you're even going to get some money. We need to be one with the countries that those cities are operating in, and also respect and draw from their culture to get the best out of both models. We need to emphasize the upsides and be open and realistic about challenges. No, it is not going to be all easy. No, it's not going to be all great. No, it's not all going to be just upsides the day after tomorrow. It is going to be hard. It is going to be challenging. But this is where you make real progress. And yes, people don't like being lied to. Let's be honest with government partners, what we are trying to achieve and why we are trying to achieve it. Don't hide it. And also, yes, we have our ideals, and I've had some interesting discussions already yesterday about this balance between pragmatic achievement and ideological purity. Of course, we should not just become traitors to our own principles, to our own ideas. But let's also not assume that people who are arguing against it are just stupid morons. They have points, they have concerns. Be flexible, and let's bring it together. Partnerships, join forces with governments, develop a strong narrative. Many governments, many prime ministers we're talking with are concerned about one thing. Oh gosh, how do I tell that story to my people, to my electorate? Well, let's develop that storyline, that narrative, together with the governments. Let's give them talking points. Let's help them express it. Let them become our spokespeople towards the people in their society. And actually, we had that point, make governments compete. I can tell you, there is nothing more powerful than telling them, well, we are not forcing anything upon you. Oh, absolutely not. We are presenting the options to you. You choose whether you want to do it. It's your free choice. Hey, we believe in free choice. But just to mention, that prime minister just across the sea, just across the border, he already wants to do it. And we are happy to do it with him. Are you sure? It's not you. Oh, that's creating some good dynamics. I can tell you that for sure. So, let's not treat governments as our enemies. Let's all think about how they become our partners, our friends, even our multipliers. Not by giving up on our ideals, but by emphasizing the mutual benefits, the win-win narrative, by strengthening the perception of benefits, by increasing knowledge, fighting wrong rumors, and by addressing and reducing fears and concerns. So that, at the end of the day, governments are coming to us and are asking us to please set up something, initiate something in our countries. We need to shoot for desire, not just acceptance. Thank you very much.